Hello, good morning, and happy Thursday. It is the second day of Lent, and we're continuing with our Romans study with our second section called the Prayer of Thanksgiving. I'm Father Patrick Funston from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Manhattan, Kansas, and this is the second section of Paul's letter to the Romans. This is chapter 1, verses 8 through 15, called the Prayer of Thanksgiving. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is proclaimed throughout the world. For God, whom I serve with my spirit by announcing the gospel of his Son, is my witness that without ceasing I remember you always in my prayers, asking that by God's will I may somehow at last succeed in coming to you. For I am longing to see you so that I may share with you some spiritual gift to strengthen you, or rather so that we may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine. I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that I have often intended to come to you, but thus far have been prevented, in order that I may reap some harvest among you, as I have among the rest of the Gentiles. I am a debtor both to Greeks and to barbarians, both to the wise and to the foolish. Hence my eagerness to proclaim the gospel to you also who are in Rome. That was the prayer of thanksgiving, chapter 1, verses 8 through 15 of Paul's letter to the Romans. The second section of Paul's letter here is the traditional second section of a Greek letter. Having introduced himself and proclaiming his purpose to proclaim the gospel, Paul gives thanks for his listeners, for the people who are reading or hearing this letter. Paul, it seems, is going to be coming to Rome because he wants to do something specific. Not only does he want to proclaim the gospel, but he wants to reap some harvest among you, as I have among the rest of the Gentiles. It seems Paul's main reason for going to Rome was to raise money to send back to the church in Jerusalem. Paul worked on this throughout the course of his ministry, but it seemed like it was a really important thing for him to continue to support the church in Jesus' homeland. So he's going there, but before he goes there, he wants to let everybody know that he's heard great things about them. He's heard that their faith has been proclaimed throughout the world, that they have a faith that is going beyond the bounds of just their own church. And he wants to go to be among them to perhaps enlighten the gospel a little bit more for them, or to give them what he calls a spiritual gift to strengthen them. But then he does what Paul likes to do, where he'll say something and then he'll think about what he's just said and he'll kind of cut back to it. So he says that you have to have some spiritual gift to strengthen you, or rather that we may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine. So not only is he going to try to convey some gift to them, but he knows that their faith, which has been proclaimed broadly, was probably going to be useful for him as well. And that brings us to our Greek word of the day. We translate it as mutually encouraged, but it's actually one specific word, sumperkaleo, which means mutually encouraged or to advocate with. You might hear in that word parakaleo, which is very similar to and is exactly the word that the gospel according to John uses to describe the Holy Spirit, the paraclete, which literally means the one that has been called alongside, kind of like a lawyer, somebody who's come to help you, to encourage you, to help you make your case. And so when Paul takes parakaleo, called alongside, and adds sim to it, which is the Greek word to mean together. And so what he's saying is that we have been called to be advocates with one another. We have been called to be paracletes with one another. I'm not only coming to work with you, I'm coming understanding that you are going to help me as well. And I think that brings us to our thought for the day as we begin this first Thursday of Lent. How are you being called to be mutually encouraging? And how are you called to be mutually encouraged? How is God asking you to sum parakaleo with the people around you? Paul did it by going to Rome, by writing a letter to Rome, by attempting to interact with and touching with people. But what does it mean for you? How is your faith strengthened by the relationships that surround you? And how are you strengthening those around you as well? Have a great second day of Lent.